Gary Stearman with a word about the upcoming Orlando Prophecy Summit, March 28th through 30th. It's going to be fabulous, Bob.
It's going to be the Prophecy Conference for the Ages. 24 speakers in sunny Orlando, Florida. The sunshine, the beaches, Disney World, Universal Studios, the Holy Land theme park, and 24 incredible speakers.
Like Chuck Missler, Bill Salas, L.A. Marzulli, and, by the way, Mark Biltz.
Don't forget Mark Biltz. 2 weeks before the blood moons hit Israel, Mark Biltz is going to be speaking at our conference. L.A. Marzulli, fresh off his trip to Peru, his hunt for the skulls and the skeletons of the Nephilim. It's going to be fabulous.
Bob, for our viewers in the southeastern United States, this is a one-day drive to a beautiful hotel, and we're going to have the most fabulous get-together you can possibly imagine. Be with us. Call the 800 number right now, 1-800-475-1111. We'll see you there. Hi, Gary Stearman. Let's talk a bit about the rapture of the church on this update, scheduled for release on the 24th of January, a Friday. And I want to read from 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I get a great deal of mail. In fact, I have gotten a great deal of mail for years and years from people telling me that I'm going to go through the tribulation, and they base their interpretation of that on 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, which I'm going to read beginning with verse 1. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him. That's verse 1. And Paul here announces that the subject of this letter is our gathering together to Christ. Well, that would be the rapture of the church. Second verse says that you be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. Let's talk about that second verse. Paul is saying, I don't want you to be upset at the concept of the rapture. Well, what could upset people? It would be someone coming along and saying, the rapture is not going to happen the way you think, the rapture is not going to save you from anything, etc. And Paul indicates here that there are teachings going around. There are forged letters with Paul's name saying that the day of Christ is at hand. Now, let's say a couple of things about this. The day of Christ here, in my opinion, is the same as saying the day of the Lord. Christ is Lord. Our Lord is Christ. And saying the day of the Lord and the day of Christ is virtually saying the same thing. So I don't want to quibble about what's being discussed, but what is being forwarded here as a central idea from Paul is that there were people trying to convince members of the early church that they were going to go through the tribulation, period. And let me read this again. Verse 2 says that you be not soon shaken in mind, that is, upset, or troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. Well, in the Greek, at hand is in the perfect tense, meaning it's saying the same as that the day of Christ has already happened and you're already in it. So people were running around, even back in the first century, trying to convince early Christians that, hey, you're already in the day of Christ. You're already in the day of the Lord, so get ready. And now we come to verse 3, and this is where the letters that I receive, I think, are really often very confused. Verse 3 says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And people write to me, and they'll say, okay, can't you see what this is saying? This is saying that the day, which they interpret as the rapture, won't come until there's a falling away and the man of sin is revealed. This is the direct opposite of what it says, but I get a lot of mail interpreting verse 3 as saying, that day, that is, i.e., the rapture, will not happen unless there's a falling away first, and the man of sin, that is the Antichrist, the son of perdition, is revealed. And so they turn it around backwards and say, the day is the rapture. Well, I would beg to differ. The word day in verse 3 is not the rapture. Day is the day of the Lord, or as Paul writes it here in verse 2, the day of Christ. And so, reading again verse 3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day, in other words, the day of the Lord, which we would then say is the tribulation, shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And so what Paul is saying here, I don't want people to upset you or deceive you, that day, that is the day of the Lord, won't come except there come a falling away first. Now, let's talk about what the falling away is. And I have believed for a long time, as did a number of Greek scholars going back 40, 50, 60 years, that the term falling away, which is apostasia in the Greek, can be really interpreted two different ways. The phrase here, translated falling away, is he apostasia. And it is directly from that Greek noun, apostasia, that we get our English word apostasy. Apostasia carries the meaning of defection from something, revolt against something, or rebellion against God. And so this falling away could be a falling away from the faith. But, and I'm going to read here from E. Schuyler English. By the way, E. Schuyler English was the chairman of the committee that developed the final print of the New Schofield Reference Bible. He was an associate of Arno Gabeline. He was editor-in-chief of the Pilgrim Bible. By the way, King James Version Bibles. And Schuyler English was considered to be a top-notch Greek scholar. And he says that in looking at Greek lexicons, yes, apostasia can be translated as defection or revolt or rebellion against God, but it can also be translated as disappearance or departure. And he points out that apostasia, the noun, comes from the verb ophistemi, which means to remove or to put away or cause to be removed. And it's used that way 15 times in the New Testament. In fact, Dr. John Walford, late Chancellor of Dallas Theological Seminary, quoted Dr. English in this particular observation that 15 times in the New Testament, apostasia from ophistemi is used to indicate a departure, as in departing from one place to go to another. And so there are two possible interpretations for verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, that is, the day of the Lord, the day of Christ shall not come, except there come a falling away first, which could be a departure from the faith or an apostasy, but it could also mean a departure first, as Dr. English points out. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So the question is, how are you going to interpret that Greek verb? And as a principle, in biblical interpretation generally, and I've followed several others on this, that if something can be interpreted two different ways, perhaps that's the way the Lord intended for it to be interpreted. That is to say, this is so on the edge, shall we say, that you could really take either interpretation or both, because an apostasy, that is a departure from the faith, could be considered simultaneous with a departure of the church, as in the rapture, because certainly when the church departs this earth, there will be a departure from the faith first and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And so the order of things is, Paul says, don't let anybody deceive you about this. That day, that is the day of the Lord, shall not come except first comes a departure from the faith, and perhaps a departure from this earth by the church. And then that man of sin, the son of perdition, will be revealed. And I have received so much mail about this that I just wanted to put my 2 cents worth back in today as an encouragement to those who believe, as I do, in the pre-tribulation rapture of the church. And it's very appropriate at this time to say, keep looking up, everybody.